The KX series security droid was designed by Arrowhead Industries for the Galactic Empire. They were versatile and imposing security droids designed for a range of tasks, including escorting high-value individuals and defending Imperial installations. Built with exaggerated human proportions but the agility of an athlete, KX series droids could handle various tools, equipment, and weapons. Their size and immense strength made them an intimidating presence, capable of subduing opponents with ease. They were programmed to recognize and obey Imperial military officers ranked lieutenant or higher, and were proficient in operating over 40 different Imperial transport vehicles, with the ability to adapt quickly to new ones. In addition to their security roles, KX series droids were capable of performing manual labor and translation tasks. However, their programming caused them to perceive such assignments as tedious, reflecting a level of preference towards combat-related functions. Their armor was also pretty strong, making them able to take multiple blaster hits before going down. There was also a different variant of the KX known as the Security Droid Enforcer. This model featured tan plating instead of black and was equipped with electro-riot batons. It was primarily used to train stormtroopers in baton combat and highlighted the adaptability of the KX series. One of the most famous KX droids is of course K2SO, who was reprogrammed by the Rebel Alliance and became an essential member of the team during the mission to secure the Death Star plans in the only good Disney movie, Rogue One. And to be honest, he's probably one of my favorite droids to date, as I just liked his quirky, super direct, and overly honest way of speaking. I'm kinda like that in real life as well, so he reminds me of myself at times. Also, he had a heroic sacrifice, which usually makes me like a character even more. K2SO, literally one of the best droids. Changed my mind. The IG series droids were among the most advanced models utilized by the Separatists, particularly serving as elite combat units and bodyguards. These droids quickly became fan favorites due to their lethal precision and remarkable resilience, prominently featured throughout the Clone Wars and other media. Among the most notable was the IG-100 Magna Guard, General Grievous's personal bodyguard. Equipped with electro staffs, these droids could effectively block lightsaber strikes, making them formidable adversaries in combat. A main way they fought is by using General Grievous's favorite spinning technique, completely confusing and imitating Jedis who faced them. The Magna Guards made their first appearance in Revenge of the Sith and played a significant role in the Clone Wars animated series. They showcased their tenacity by engaging Anakin and Obi-Wan on board the Invisible Hand and proving their ability to continue fighting even after sustaining severe damage, such as losing limbs or even their head. Some of Grievous's Magna Guards also featured torn capes to make them look more like the Kaleesh people, whom General Grievous was part of. Next, a droid designed to be an improved variant of standard battle droids. IG-86s were integral to the Intergalactic Banking Clan's collections and security division. Their advanced features made them popular not only among the Banking Clan, but also with criminal organizations, including gangsters like Zero the Hutt. Throughout the Clone Wars, these droids saw extensive action, being utilized by both the Confederacy of Independent Systems and various third-party factions. In the infamous Battle of Moonalinst, IG Lancer droids made their mark by riding swoop bikes and wielding energy lances. Led by the bounty hunter Dirge in the 2003 Clone Wars microseries, they executed high-speed cavalry charges, wreaking havoc on Republic forces and further cementing the IG series droids' reputation as formidable and lethal combatants throughout the Clone Wars. Finally, another model used by the CIS is the IG-110 lightsaber droid. It was developed specifically to counter the Jedi threat. These droids wielded dual red lightsabers and were programmed with combat techniques based on extensive data of Jedi fighting styles. Although they haven't yet made a significant appearance in major canon narratives, they are the first lightsaber-wielding droids we've seen. The B1 Battle Droid is the most recognizable droid in the Separatist army. With their skeletal, humanoid appearance, their design mirrors the insect-like form of their creators, the Geonosians. They first appeared in The Phantom Menace during the Naboo invasion and were the standard infantry unit in the Confederacy of Independent Systems, or CIS for short. They were often seen as cannon fodder due to their low intelligence and poor combat skills. However, their true strength came from the fact that they were produced in massive numbers, overwhelming enemy forces with sheer volume. During the Clone Wars, B1 Battle Droids are featured in almost every battle. However, they're mostly shown to be extremely clumsy and usually fail to do even the simplest tasks, never mind taking down any Jedi. The B1 is also very flexible, and was used in a whole bunch of different roles in the Separatist army. There were the commanders with yellow markings taking on leadership roles, commanding the troops with incredible fury, high-fiving their droid teammates for their good shots. Next, the security droids that fight to the last man defending important locations like prisons, etc. Am I exaggerating a bit how useful they actually are? Yes, because otherwise they wouldn't make for good villains, right? But to get you on a different topic, have you heard about the pilot droid? Recognizable by the blue markings on his head, and his specialty is, well, piloting. Yes, you guessed it. Some things just aren't that complicated. There are also rocket droids who have a jetpack to use in space, and firefighter droids. But perhaps there was a reason that they were more battle droids and not firefighter droids. Anyways, finally, there are also the heavy battle droids, who usually carried rotary blasters. However, after seeing how they handle a fire extinguisher, I wouldn't really trust them to handle a minigun of all things. Okay, this was way too jokey, I'll tone it down a bit now. The last two variants of the B1 were grapple droids, who were designed to close combat and are equipped with claws, and repeater blaster droids, who carried heavier weapons. Despite their failings in combat, B1s have become iconic figures in Star Wars lore, serving as the primary force of the Separatist army. In their defense, though, the reason B1 battle droids are so chatty and often seem dim-witted is actually due to cost-cutting measures taken during their mass production. Initially, in The Phantom Menace, they had a more serious tone and were designed to be efficient, but over time, the Separatists had to produce massive numbers of them. To save money, they used cheaper CPUs, which affected their intelligence and combat efficiency. This reduced processing power made them less effective, especially against Jedi, and led to their more comical and talkative nature in later films and the Clone Wars series. George Lucas himself explained this shift as part of the narrative evolution, reflecting the growing wear and tear of the war on both sides. The Barbecue Droid was a B1 series battle droid repurposed as a cooking unit for the Trade Federation. It was stationed on an asteroid in the Naboo system, and it served Nemoidian personnel by preparing meals like grilled red sausages. Most notably, the droid wore a chef's hat and used a scraper for cooking. Whenever attacked, he would suddenly turn around and throw his sausages at the enemy. Okay, that's not true, but it would be quite funny if you go up to him with a blaster and he just throws sausages at you, but I digress. He's probably the most wholesome droid out there, just going after his day cooking and doing his best. Shout out to the commentator that pointed him out, as I didn't know he existed up until recently. The B2 Super Battle Droid was the result of the Separatist desire to improve on the original B1 model. Imagine taking the spindly B1, sending it to the gym, and then wrapping it in armor plating. That's essentially what they did. The B2 first marched onto the battlefield in Attack of the Clones, and it became clear from the start that this droid wasn't here to mess around. Unlike the B1s, which rely on handheld weapons, the B2 has integrated wrist blasters, allowing for faster, more efficient firepower without the awkward scramble to grab a blaster. Where the B1s needed constant commands from a central control ship, the B2 could operate independently, making them far more adaptable in combat. This shift from mindless drone to a semi-autonomous soldier meant they could execute complex battle strategies with far less oversight. In essence, they were smarter, tougher, and much more dangerous than their predecessors. They are often seen as part of the main force of the CIS Army, deployed in a dozen alongside B1 droids. Also, for their bulk, they are surprisingly fast and agile, as one of the episodes of Mandalorian showed. Maybe I also just got the impression that they were slow, as I grew up watching the Clone Wars series, and there they basically looked like a balloon with legs and guns compared to the more muscular build of the live-action versions. Of course, the Separatists were never satisfied with just one version of anything. They quickly set about creating variations of the B2 to specialize it further. Some of these droids came equipped with shoulder-mounted rocket launchers. And then there was the B2 variant designed to take the flight into space. Rocket droids that came strapped with jetpacks, and they looked even sillier in the Clone Wars because of their round shape. But yeah, these flying versions of the B2 were used to great effect during space engagements, latching onto ships and shooting pilots out of their seats. Another variant of the B2 was designed for hand-to-hand combat. These grapple droids were outfitted with larger, reinforced arms for close-quarters brawling. Whether smashing through barricades or tossing clone troopers like ragdolls, they proved that sometimes brute force could be just as effective as laser fire. One of the more terrifying developments was a B2 model that was reinforced with cortosis, a material capable of absorbing so much energy that it even resisted lightsabers, even shorting them out for brief periods upon contact. For a Jedi, this was a game changer. Lightsabers, the weapon they relied on to carve through droids with ease, were suddenly ineffective. Luckily though, Anakin managed to destroy the only factory producing these cortosis armored droids before they could become widespread. The B3 Ultra Battle Droid was a much larger and more heavily armored version of the B2 Super Battle Droid. It had a right arm with a flamethrower and a left arm with a plasma cannon. It also had two smaller secondary arms equipped with rapid-fire blaster cannons. Additionally, the droid's left shoulder housed a missile launcher. The B3 also was equipped with a density projector which could increase the droid's weight by 20 times. This allowed it to anchor itself firmly in place, making it nearly impossible to topple over despite its high center of gravity. However, they had a lot of technical issues and were therefore never mass-produced by the Separatists and used very sparingly. The OOM series battle droids were the predecessors and counterparts to the infamous B1 Battle Droids. Produced by Bactoid Combat Automata, these droids were developed to serve as command and specialized units within the Trade Federation. Though they shared the same skeletal frame and basic programming as B1 droids, OOM units had slightly more advanced processors, enabling them to execute more complex orders and adapt to tactical situations better than the B1. However, they suffered from the inherent limitations of their centralized control systems, making them susceptible to disruption when their command networks were destroyed, as seen in The Phantom Menace. At the time of the Clone Wars, they were mostly replaced by the B1 Battle Droids, even though the B1 were less effective and more expensive. But the OOM's connection to a central command center was deemed too great of a weakness after their defeat at Naboo. So, if you ever wondered why the later B1 we see in the Clone Wars was very chatty and silly, while the droids we see in Episode 1 were very straightforward and didn't do silly things, well, now you know that it was due to their lack of individuality, because they were OOM models. Here's a funny example.
Look, it's RB551. No wonder he got blasted. He's one of those older models programmed by a central computer. Not us. We're independent thinkers. Roger, 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 roger.
Bless the B1. I know some people think they're too silly, and I get it, but I have to chuckle every time I see them. The BX series commando droids are what happens when someone in the Separatist army finally said, hey, maybe we should make some droids that are actually good at fighting. And boy did they deliver. First showing up in the Clone Wars episode Rookies, these lean, mean fighting machines made quite the entrance, dispatching the entire clone force on the base and taking over the command center. The BX droids were often equipped with vibro swords that they could carry on their back, and a standard blaster. They could also change their voices and in general are more individual and smarter than the B1 and B2 droids. But their real strength? Parkour. Yes, you heard that right. That's what I call it. These droids flip, jump, and roll their way around the battlefield like they're auditioning for a space circus. But it does make them very hard to hit, and even if they're hit, they can usually withstand some blaster fire. They even still functioned when half their torso was cut through. Also, for Jedi, they were very tricky to fight against as they could shoot while jumping around and dodge lightsaber strikes, then quickly attack with their vibro swords. They were also excellent at hand-to-hand combat, usually dispatching clones with ease. Different variants included commando captains, rocking those sweet white markings, making them look like Sioux Indians going to war. However, despite their lethality, they weren't deployed to the same extent as the B1 and B2 due to their high cost, often serving more as bodyguards or assisting on special strike teams. But let it be noted that they were most likely one of the deadliest droids the Seppies used. The AQ series battle droids, commonly known as Aqua Droids, were amphibious droids designed by Howard Shaw Engineering and the Techno Union for underwater combat. Standing at 2.83 meters tall, these droids featured a bulky, rigid physique, retractable heads for streamlined swimming, and feet that could switch to propellers for efficient movement in water. Their blue color matched aquatic environments, making them ideal for sieges on planets like Kamino and Mon Cala during the Clone Wars. Aqua droids were heavily armed with a retractable laser cannon on their right wrist and could cause significant damage to enemy vehicles. Underwater, they were agile and swift, but on land they moved slowly, similar to B2 battle droids, which made them vulnerable to sniper attacks. During the attack on Kamino, these underwater warriors first made a splash, couldn't resist, and proved that they weren't just a fish out of water. Okay, last water pun, I promise. They assembled assault crafts underwater to lay siege on Tipoca City, showing that they had different use cases besides just shooting. The T-Series Military Strategic Analysis and Tactics Droid, commonly referred to as the T-Series Tactical Droid or T1, was manufactured by Bactoid Combat Automata for the Confederacy of Independent Systems during the Clone Wars. These droids played a crucial role in coordinating military operations, serving as advisors and generals to their superiors. They were deployed in significant battles across the galaxy and proved to be vital in organizing the droid forces. Known for their ruthlessness and intelligence, T1s preferred to command from the rear rather than the front lines, displaying a higher degree of independence than B1 series battle droids. While loyal to the Separatist cause, they've been seen to prioritize their survival, sometimes abandoning their superiors in dire situations. As the Clone Wars progressed, the more advanced ST-Series droids were introduced. The ST-Series Military Strategic Analysis and Tactics Droid, commonly known as Super Tactical Droids, were advanced models developed by Bactoid Combat Automata as an enhanced version of the T-Series Tactical Droids. They addressed the T-Series limitations by featuring superior strategic processing and intelligence, enabling them to analyze battlefield conditions and predict responses from organic commanders, which the T1 series often failed to do. Super Tactical Droids served as effective battlefield commanders, often filling the roles of commanders or generals, with notable examples including Generals Kalani and Linwodo, the latter serving directly under Count Dooku. While Super Tactical Droids became the preferred choice for key operations, T-Series models continued to be used for non-essential missions, commanding smaller fleet groups. Taller than their predecessors by a centimeter, ST-Series droids boasted improved armor plating, enhanced heat ventilation, and additional features like magnetomic grip panels that allowed them to operate organic equipment. These droids were granted a degree of individuality within the Separatist military, enabling them to customize their appearance with distinct color schemes. Some units even developed personalities, with droids like Kalani opting to create names for themselves rather than responding to their identification numbers, reflecting a growing sense of autonomy among these advanced combat units. A droid that looks like a prototype between the B1 and B2, armed with dual repeating blaster cannons. They could track an opponent with motion, heat, energy, and sonic detectors, but move quite slow, so it's kinda counterintuitive to have a tracker that moves at 3 miles an hour. They didn't really appear aside from in a few games, and aren't widely used. The D1 series aerial battle droids, also known as D-Wing droids, were experimental security droids developed by the Techno Union. They were deployed as security units at the Techno Union facility on Skeko Minor. They featured fold-out wings for flight and built-in blasters. Despite their distinct head design, their programming was similar to the standard B1 Battle Droid, making them an airborne variation of the B-Series droid line. The HK-Series Assassins droids were developed to hunt and kill high-value targets. The HKB-3 Hunter-Killer droid was an early model, used primarily before the invasion of Naboo. These droids could still be seen guarding Separatist assets during the Clone Wars, although they were mostly just on backwater worlds. The HK-77 Assassin droid was an improved version and one of the most aggressive HK models. These droids saw action during the later stages of the Clone Wars, though they didn't become widespread until the Galactic Civil War, where they operated under HK-47's command. The A-Series Assassin droid was a highly advanced combat unit used sparingly during the Clone Wars. Unlike other droids that relied on strength, these droids specialized in overwhelming their targets with firepower and combat skill. Although they have only appeared briefly in canon, their lore suggests that they were deployed against elite Republic units, including Jedi. The Proxy Droid was a unique droid programmed for high levels of combat training. Developed during the later years of the Clone Wars and into the rise of the Galactic Empire, these droids were capable of projecting sophisticated holographic disguises, allowing them to mimic the appearance, voice, and even fighting style of nearly any user that was uploaded into their database. The most famous Proxy Droid, which was called Proxy, was a personal companion and training partner to Galen Merrick, the secret apprentice of Darth Vader in the Force Unleashed game. This droid's primary function was to help Merrick hone his skills by simulating battles against powerful opponents. Proxy copied the fighting style and appearances of none lesser than Darth Maul and Obi-Wan Kenobi to help Galen train. though his mastery of copying Obi-Wan certainly is a bit questionable considering how easily he gave up on the high ground here. The TSeries Sentry Droids, also known as Imperial Sentry Droids, were heavy combat units developed by the Empire to serve as guards and combat training units. There were two different variants, one being equipped with white plating and wrist-mounted blasters on both arms, which was typically utilized for training purposes. Another variant, characterized by black and gray plating, bore a strong resemblance to the suits and droids developed under the Dark Trooper program. The black-plated variant was outfitted with a built-in blaster rifle integrated into either arm, and were more frequently deployed for guard duties. Their armored frames allowed them to withstand multiple hits from blasters, making them more resilient in combat situations. They appeared on Kamino, where they fought against the Bad Batch. One specialized unit was also used by Grand Admiral Thrawn and Rebels to practice close-quarter combat again, the Droidica. Or as many Republic soldiers and Jedi have come to call them, those damn rolling things. First appeared in the Phantom Menace against Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, and from the moment they unrolled themselves, they made a lasting impression. With their twin blaster cannons and impenetrable energy shields, Droidicas quickly became one of the Separatists' most feared battle droids. Unlike the B1s, which were easily taken down with a well-placed shot, Droidicas could withstand almost any form of attack, thanks to their energy shields that could repel anything short of a heavy artillery strike. This made them a particular headache for Jedi, who found their lightsabers bouncing off the shield while Droidicas unloaded a barrage of blaster fire. Their ability to roll into battle also set them apart. In seconds, they could transform from stationary cannons into speeding ball-like blurs, capable of quickly repositioning or flanking enemy forces. Their high mobility, combined with their powerful shields and weaponry, made them a versatile and deadly unit on the battlefield. But the original Droidica design was just the beginning. The Separatists, always looking for an edge, developed several variants to enhance their effectiveness in different combat scenarios. The Droidica Mark II added even more versatility, incorporating ion cannons that could disable vehicles and broaden the range of targets they could engage. Among these variants was the Droidica Sharpshooter, a specialized version designed for precision long-range attacks. Unlike the traditional Droidica, which relied on its blasters to overwhelm enemies up close, the Sharpshooter was equipped with a precision rifle, making it the sniper of the droid family. It sacrificed the traditional energy shield in favor of increased accuracy, allowing it to hit targets at extreme distances. While this made it more vulnerable than its shielded counterparts, its ability to strike with pinpoint accuracy from afar made it a formidable threat, especially against high-value targets or during covert operations. Finally, the Ultra Droidica took the concept of the Destroyer Droid to its extreme, enhancing its firepower to such an extent that it couldn't even run its shields and weapons simultaneously. These massive units were more akin to mobile artillery, but their reliance on other droids for protection while firing made them somewhat cumbersome in battle. The Scorpionic Annihilator droids, produced by the Colicoid Creation Nest, were formidable battle droids comparable to Droidicas, but significantly larger and more powerful. Standing at 3.5 meters tall and walking on 4 sharp legs, these droids were equipped with energy and particle shields far superior to those of Droidicas. Even without shields, Annihilator droids were difficult to take down due to their extremely strong armor and agile design. Their weaponry surpassed that of Droidicas as well. Instead of dual blaster cannons, the Annihilators were armed with 2 dual laser cannons that could fire rapidly and penetrate almost any armor or shield. A single Annihilator could destroy dozens of ATTEs, making them a nightmare for Republic commanders. However, this immense firepower came at a cost. The Annihilators were so expensive that fewer than 100 were produced, most of which were stationed at Kala 4, where they were manufactured. 2 of them had a live-action appearance in the Book of Boba Fett finale, where they attacked Mos Espa and couldn't be taken down even with a Rancor smashing away at it. The LM-432 Muckaracker Crab Droid was a versatile walker droid used by the Confederacy of Independent Systems during the Clone Wars. Manufactured by the Techno Union, the Crab Droid came in various sizes, with smaller 4-legged and larger 6-legged models. Designed for swampy or uneven terrain, its armored limbs allowed it to climb and scale steep inclines, aided by gripping prongs and teeth at the limb joints. Equipped with 2 belly-mounted blaster cannons, the Crab Droid could engage long-range targets, while its powerful forelegs could punch through vehicle armor. However, the droid had blind spots, as a now famous clone at the Battle of Utapau demonstrated by jumping on its head and shooting its central processor from above. The DSD-1 Dwarf Spider Droid may have been small by comparison to other war machines, but don't let the dwarf label fool you. These little nightmares packed a serious punch. The DSD-1 was designed for heavy support roles. Its main weapon was a massive nose-mounted laser cannon, capable of both rapid fire and concentrated energy blasts. Whether you need to mow down groups of infantry or punch a hole in an armored position, the Dwarf Spider Droid could handle it. What made these droids even more dangerous was their agility. Equipped with 4 legs, they could climb over virtually any terrain, scaling walls and navigating rough ground with ease. This mobility made them ideal for assaulting fortified positions, as they could approach from angles most vehicles couldn't. Their small size also meant they were harder to hit, and their thick armor allowed them to take a beating before going down. The upgraded version, the ADSD Advanced Dwarf Spider Droid, took everything that made the original effective and ramped it up a notch. It featured upgraded weaponry, including a more powerful blaster cannon and fire-linked missile launchers. It also had enhanced leg armor for additional protection and could operate in total darkness. Though available commercially before the Clone Wars, the ADSD was not mass-produced until after the droid army's mobilization due to high cost. It was also used in holographic training simulations for clone troopers on Kamino. The OG-9 homing spider droid, also known as the Spider Walker, was a formidable anti-vehicular walker developed by the Commerce Guild for use before and during the Clone Wars. Equipped with 4 legs, the homing spider droid could adapt to various terrains, including seabeds and steep cliffs. However, these legs were also a critical weakness. Disabling just one could cause the entire walker to collapse. Combined with its slow speed, this made the droid quite vulnerable despite its imposing firepower. The homing spider droid's primary weapon was a circular dish-mounted laser capable of sustained precision fire. This weapon could wear down shields, obliterate armored vehicles, and decimate troop formations. For close combat, the droid featured an anti-personnel cannon mounted below its body. Just like the Hailfire droid, they weren't seen often aside from the first Battle of Geonosis. They can be seen in the background of the Battle of Felucia, but I wish we would have seen it more, as I've always had a sweet spot for it. Probably mostly due to the 2013 LEGO version of it, but yeah. It's just great memories for me, when I reminisce about how I chased down all the LEGO droid sets back in the day. The Octara Tri Droid, or simply called the Tri Droid, was a 3-leg droid walker developed by the Techno Union. It was widely utilized by the CIS during the Clone Wars and came in various sizes. Its large, round head housed cognitive modules with 3 red photoreceptors, providing a 360-degree field of vision, making it impossible to sneak up on it. Equipped with an omnidirectional field of fire, the Tri-Droid featured 3 rotating laser cannons, allowing it to lock onto targets instantly from any direction. However, its 3-legged design presented a significant invulnerability, as damage to one leg could cause the entire droid to collapse, which Anakin showed off extensively during the Clone Wars TV series. The smaller Octara combat Tri-Droids were standing at 3.6 meters tall and were deployed as anti-personnel units. Some variants also carried airborne biological plagues within their heads, earning them the nickname Virus Droids for their ability to spread devastation even after being destroyed. On the other end of the spectrum, the massive Octara Magna Tri Droid stood at an imposing 14.59 meters and functioned as heavy artillery. These larger models could engage vehicles such as ATTE and were often equipped with chain-fed missile launchers or heavy laser cannons. Some variants, such as those used on Skako Minor, were also outfitted with engines, enabling them to fly several meters above the ground, adding another layer of tactical flexibility as they could independently deploy themselves right into battle from distant positions. They also, sadly, never really had a real LEGO set, aside from some real shitty-looking ones from some battle packs. Here's hoping they'll make one someday. The J1 Proton Cannon was a droid-operated anti-aircraft weapon deployed by the CIS during the Clone Wars. This heavy droid-operated cannon was designed to be either manually controlled by a B1 Battle Droid seated at its side, or autonomously managed by a pre-installed droid brain. As a single-shot breech loader, it lacked an automatic reloading system, requiring at least 2 battle droids to manually load each shell into the breech before firing. Despite this limitation, its shells were immensely powerful, capable of breaching the shields of an Acclamator-class assault ship and destroying Republic gunships with a single direct hit. Its design is reminiscent of a flak gun, mounted atop 4 spider-like legs. This configuration allowed it to reposition and rotate to engage targets, but its turning mechanism was notably slow. It can be seen during several battles, including the Second Battle of Geonosis and the Battle of Ryloth. The Corporate Alliance Tank Droid, also known as the NRN-99 Persuader-class Droid Enforcer, was a treaded, heavily armed droid tank deployed by the Separatists during the Clone Wars. Its distinctive caterpillar tread allowed it to traverse rough terrain with ease, making it ideal for both urban combat and open battlefields. Armed with dual laser cannons and a concussion missile launcher, the tank droid excelled at engaging infantry and light vehicles. However, its forward-drive motor design limited maneuverability, making it particularly vulnerable to flanking attacks. Despite its limitations, the NRN-99 excelled in destruction. Capable of reaching speeds of 60 km per hour, it could smash through walls and plow through obstacles with ease. The original NRN-99 model was equipped with an integrated droid brain, but later iterations opted for droid pilots. They were deployed across a variety of different battlefields during the Clone Wars, most notably on Kashyyyk, where they came out of the water and had B1 droids holding onto them, driving them right into battle. They can also be played as in the 2005 Battlefront 2 by simply just entering it as a droid pilot. God, do I miss that game. Please remake it with better graphics, it would be so great! The IG-227 Hailfire class droid tank was literally the epitome of mobile artillery. It's easily recognizable by the 2 massive treaded hoop-like wheels, which allowed it to move at incredible speeds across flat terrain and even shallow water. Armed with 2 missile launcher pods with 15 missiles in each, the Hailfire droid unleashed destruction with its namesake, Hailfire missiles. These projectiles excelled against stationary or slow-moving targets like the ATTE and the Republic gunships, as a single missile could obliterate heavily armored vehicles. Once these missiles were depleted, they could still rely on a forward-mounted twin auto-blaster to continue its assault, as its speed still made it a formidable opponent. They sadly weren't widely deployed aside from the Battle of Geonosis and saw very limited use throughout the Clone Wars despite their cool design. Some Hailfire droids were later repurposed by the Rebel Alliance, and you can deploy them as the Rebels in the mobile game Star Wars Commander. Also, I want to add that LEGO is yet to release a good-looking Hailfire droid set. Like, what the heck is this? This looks terrible! Please, I need a good-looking Hailfire droid set for my LEGO droid collection. Small but deadly, Buzz droids first appeared in Revenge of the Sith, proving that even tiny droids could wreak havoc. They were easily deployed in a missile, launching a dozen of them at enemy ships. These little pests were designed to sabotage ships in mid-flight, dismantling crucial systems while pilots were still in the cockpit. Their appearance turned space battles into high-stakes repair jobs, as Republic pilots scrambled to keep their ships intact. Also, they gave me one of the worst symptoms of trypophobia during the Clone Wars. This looks so awful. Get this pic out of here, please! The Viper Probe Droid was a deep space exploration and reconnaissance unit manufactured by Arrakit Industries for the Galactic Empire. Standing at 1.6 meters tall, it featured a central pod with 5 arms and several retractable sensor arms for sample collection. Its domed head was outfitted with an array of high-resolution receivers and sensors, as well as a radiation meter, holocamera, and a floodlight. The Viper droid constantly transmitted information to its superiors using a high-frequency HoloNet transceiver. They were lightly armored and also had a small laser cannon for self-defense, and were able to hover over any terrain. Viper Probe droids were usually deployed through single-use hyperspace pods, which delivered the droid to its target location to start its reconnaissance mission. One of its most valuable deployments was on Hoth, where a Viper Probe droid discovered the hidden Rebel Alliance base, leading to the Empire's assault and the Empire Strikes Back. Its ability to transmit data in real time, even across great distances, made it a vital tool for Imperial intelligence operations. There's also the 11-3K Viper Probe droids, which were a more specialized variant of the regular Viper Probe droid. It was more heavily armored and had additional blasters for combat. However, its main usage was also reconnaissance. The LR-57 Combat Retail Droid is proof that the Separatists have a sense of humor when it comes to naming things. I mean, retail droid? Was it originally designed to be really aggressive at selling things? Jokes aside, it was a formidable Sentinel used by the Separatists during the Clone Wars. These droids were equipped with 4 blaster cannons and could lie dormant for long periods, buried underground and waiting to ambush unsuspecting Republic forces. Their sensitive dorsal antennae allowed them to detect movement or signals, triggering their surprise attacks when the moment was right. During the Battle of Christophsis, they were deployed as guards for the energy shield projector. Although they outnumbered Anakin Skywalker and Ahsoka, their slow reactions made them easy prey. Skywalker swiftly destroyed half, while Ahsoka brought down a wall on the rest. The Manta Droid Subfighter was a specialized droid designed for underwater combat. Its sleek, ray-like design allowed it to glide through water with minimal friction, making it very fast and maneuverable. It was armed with twin laser cannons and torpedo launchers, and they were deployed in big numbers to overwhelm potential enemies. These subfighters were most famously deployed during the Battle of Mon Cala, where they wreaked havoc on Mon Calamari forces defending their underwater cities, and that's pretty much all we know about this more obscure droid. The Dark Trooper program of the Empire had 3 different phases, with each improving on the previous phase. They were usually either droids or could be worn as an exoskeleton by humans, hence why they're on this list. The Phase 1 Dark Trooper was a skeletal droid made of lightsaber-resistant frick, equipped with a vibro sword, blast shield, and jump pack for melee strikes. The Phase 2 Dark Trooper were either droids or exoskeletons and were more heavily armored units armed with an assault cannon firing plasma shells and missiles. These were the most widely deployed combat models. The Phase 3 Dark Trooper was a massive and powerful prototype designed to function as autonomous droids or wearable exosuits. However, only 3 were said to have been created before the Empire's fall, and it didn't leave the prototype stage. The Dark Troopers we see in The Mandalorian are Phase 3 Dark Troopers and are said to have removed the human element once again, as it was deemed a weakness. They were equipped with built-in rocket boosters, enabling flight in both space and atmosphere, and their armor was impervious to blaster fire, making them the strongest trooper unit in the Empire's arsenal. The N5 Sentry Droids, are also known as the New Republic Security Droid, was a security model active during the Imperial era and later utilized by the New Republic Correctional Corps in the New Republic era. N5 droids were commonly used aboard New Republic prison transports. They're seen in The Mandalorian Season 1 on the prison transport Bothan 5, where Din Djarin takes down quite a few of them. The Vulture Droid, or also referred to as Variable Geometry Self-Propelled Battle Droid, Mark I, was the primary starfighter of the Separatist fleet. Its sleek design made it instantly recognizable, being able to quickly go from walking on its 4 wings to transforming into a flying starship firing lasers at incoming threats. To do this, they were armed with 4 laser cannons on their wings, as well as 2 energy torpedo launchers located on top of its body. The Vulture Droid was very versatile as its flight mode. They served as agile starfighters capable of complex maneuvers with very sharp turns and agility that regular organic pilots couldn't perform. While in walker mode, they could act as ground support units, patrolling the ground or providing support during battle. The effectiveness of droid starfighters like the Vulture Droid has been a subject of debate for generations. Vulture droids, while capable of executing extreme maneuvers beyond the limits of even the most resilient organic pilots, lacked the adaptability and active problem-solving during combat that living pilots brought to it. However, their design offered key advantages. The absence of life support systems provided additional space for weaponry and fuel, and the lack of an organic pilot absolved any potential moral concerns over their destruction. Although these moral concerns haven't come up too often so far in Star Wars. Yep, cheering the death of millions. But they were the bad guys, so it's fine. The Hyena Droid bomber was the Vulture Droid's cousin, designed for bombing runs. Being larger and bulkier than the Vulture, the Hyena featured an underbelly loaded with proton bombs, making it devastating against ground targets and fortifications. While slower and less maneuverable than a Vulture Droid due to the extra armor plating and bigger wings, it was light enough to fulfill a starfighter role when necessary, as it was also equipped with laser cannons, proton torpedoes, and concussion missiles. They were considered to be slightly smarter than Vulture Droids and could operate independently or follow strict commands, including executing suicidal runs by crashing into enemy ships on command. Just like the Vulture Droid, they were able to transform into a walker by splitting their wings and folding these under the belly to support ground troops if necessary. Just look at the size of these guys compared to a B1. Imagine facing them down as a clone. The Hyena was widely deployed during the Clone Wars and seen broad uses. Some notable deployments were during the Battle of Christophsis and Battle of Ryloth, where they bombed civilian targets. Oh, and one thing to note, I don't want to get too deep into Star Wars naming conventions, but why is it called a hyena? Like the other droid is a vulture, which makes perfect sense as it's a bird that can fly, but a hyena? Like, does a hyena in the Star Wars universe fly and shoot poop out as bombs then? Well, would be funny to see, I guess. The Droid Tri Fighter, a multi-purpose starfighter deployed by the Separatists, was a marvel of droid engineering. Engineered for intense dogfights and close-range space battles, the Tri Fighter featured more advanced droid brains than standard Separatist starfighters like the Vulture class. These brains, equipped with basic heuristic processors, allowed the Tri Fighter to analyze, anticipate, and mimic an opponent's tactics. Also, unlike Vulture droids, they were rather independent and could act autonomously with minimal coordination from a tactical droid. The Tri Fighter boasted 3 laser cannons on its wings and a nose-tip laser cannon at its front. It also carried a payload of proton torpedoes, buzz droids, or concussion missiles, which it showed off nicely during Revenge of the Sith when it fired a missile with buzz droids at Obi-Wan and Anakin's Jedi interceptors. While it typically operated autonomously, it could be modified to accommodate a pilot for specialized missions like the old Battlefront games, where you could hop into them in a Separatist hangar and from there fly into the other hangar. Unfortunately for the CIS, the Tri-Fighter was introduced rather late into the Clone Wars, so it didn't see nearly the same amount of usage as Vulture droids, but did complement the CIS Starfighter force nicely alongside them. The heavy missile platform Droid Gunship, or just simply the Droid Gunship, was a shielded missile platform designed for airstrikes within planetary atmospheres. While slower and less agile than smaller starfighters, it compensated with a formidable weapons arsenal. Droid gunships were equipped with 2 laser cannon turrets and a medium laser cannon on the head, 2 light laser cannons on the side of the wings, and 14 missiles under its belly. Their payload could include a diverse range of explosives such as concussion bombs, torpedoes, and electromagnetic pulse missiles. Their onboard AI could target multiple enemies simultaneously, and their shielded armor allowed them to shrug off most small arms fire, making them a challenge to bring down without heavy artillery or starfighters. Their primary role was ground suppression and troop support, hovering over battlefields to unleash barrages of missiles and laser fire down on their enemies. The droid gunship could also carry droid racks to deploy droids right in the middle of combat, while still hovering around and providing further fire support. They were first deployed during the Battle of Andor and proved to be devastating as 3 of them single-handedly pushed the entire Andor rebel front back, turning the tide of the battle until they were destroyed. The 2014 Droid Gunship is also one of my favorite LEGO droid sets, as they're really compact and just look sick. The menacing face, the circular shape, it just looks super unique. I'm not the best at describing why I like something, but I digress. Surely you'll agree with me. Protodeca was a massive repulsor lift weapons platform designed as a mobile ground siege weapon by the Geonosians. Armed with heavy turbo lasers, seeker missile launchers, and a seismic wave emitter, it was quite a force on the battlefield. It saw action during the Clone Wars on Raxus Prime and Thule, but other than that, wasn't used due to their high cost to produce. The All-Terrain Patrol Droid was a walker droid utilized by the First Order during its war with the Resistance. It was produced in limited quantities and was stationed on Starkiller Base to safeguard key installations. It was equipped with 2 heavy laser cannons and can be seen in the background during General Hux' speech in Episode 7. The Sentinel droid series was the sole known line of humanoid droids deployed among the war machines of the Galactic Republic and Sith Empire during the Jedi Civil War. The series included variants from Mark I through Mark V, all of which were visually identical. The HK series droids also drew inspiration from the Sentinel line in both design and structure. Sentinel droids were armed with blaster rifles and enhanced by personal energy shields. They were seen a lot during the Knights of the Old Republic games, and I quite like their sleek designs. To be honest, anything connected to KOTOR just gets me going usually, so there might be some bias in there as well. The Tank Droid Mark IV was a massive bipedal droid tank deployed both before and during the Jedi Civil War. Heavily armed, it featured a rocket launcher, blaster cannons, a grenade launcher, and a flamethrower integrated into its blocky chassis. Rakatan Guardian droids were created during the height of the Infinite Empire. They were advanced machines used to oversee slave labor. Armed with a range of weaponry, it protects key sites like the Star Map Temple on Dantooine. This droid was left active for over 25,000 years, demonstrating how durable they were to survive for this long. The Mark I assault droids were single-legged machines designed for defense. Equipped with blasters on each arm, they also used their limbs for close combat. Some models featured energy shields, capable of briefly absorbing blaster and lightsaber strikes, though they lacked advanced tactical programming. They were also a pain in the ass to face against in KOTOR. The Mark IV assault droid was used as an automated defender, patrolling cities and military installations. They can be seen guarding the Sith bases on Taris and are also present on Manan. At times, they also had energy shields, which made them a lot more difficult to deal with. The Sith War Droid Mark I was a quadrupedal droid equipped with dual blaster cannons mounted on its arms. These droids bore a striking resemblance to the Droidicas utilized millennia later by the CIS. Although they moved at a slower pace compared to other droids of their era, this was likely due to their heavy armor plating. They were used by the Sith Empire during the Great Galactic War and can be seen on Alderaan in the cinematic trailers. The Guardian Police Droid was deployed on Coruscant, where their presence helped maintain order. In their role as patrol officers, police droids were tasked with routine sweeps in their assigned areas to deter criminal activity and ensure public safety. They were quick to respond to emergency calls, utilizing a variety of transportation options including foot patrols, bark speeders, and Panther police interceptors. The Spaceport Police Droid was a specialized model employed by various local law enforcement agencies to maintain security and enforce regulations at spaceports during the Clone Wars. They were a Model 4 class police droid but stem from the same family as the Guardian Police Droid. Finally, the most powerful droid that was ever seen was definitely Sniper C-3PO.
Foolhardy, eh? Well, count me in!
After getting his memory wiped by Bail Organa, LEGO 3PO got a sense of heroism, wanting to be brave and formidable fighter. Unlike his old, more cautious self, Sniper C-3PO was extremely agile, having suddenly learned close-quarter combat techniques, being able to beat up stormtroopers with his bare hands. You know the saying, actions over words. No one could stop him. Even Emperor Palpatine found himself at the mercy of Sniper 3PO.
Never tell me the odds!
It wasn't until getting reminded that his original task was being a protocol droid that he reverted back to his original self, and the C-3PO we all know and love was back.